How do you do a tasting video without sounding like an asshole? Put it in the comments.
Especially when it's your beer.
Yeah.
Like, oh, like I'm gonna try this. This fucking sucks.
Yeah. Okay, if you didn't read the title of the video for some reason, we are doing a little tasting of our Saison with Dandelion and honeysuckle.
Yeah, we named this beer Druidcraft. Druidcraft being like, you know, hey, we named a beer after some D&D stuff.
Please don't sue us.
Yeah.
Or do.
But
I'll take you to court.
Druids are rangers. Those are your two nature-y kind of classes. So we decided to lean into it. Some foraging stuff went on for this beer. So here we are, Druidcraft version 1, dandelions and honeysuckles.
Yeah. So we're going to walk through the BJCP thing because, you know, whatever. We're not certified.
I just want you guys to know that I'm not a certified chicharron or a cicerone or any combination of those two things. Pork rind or beer taster professionally.
We're working towards the pork rind certification.
Yeah, that's
we're going to get it.
It's been an uphill battle. I just want you guys to know. Uphill battle.
We're going to get it. All right, so appearance on this thing, it's got quite a bit of haze to it, but it's, as Saisons do, we haven't added any findings or anything like that to it, and I can sort of see my finger through the other side, and of course you can see it now because it's here. The thing's right here.
Instead of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if it was over here, you wouldn't be able to see that. But yeah, it's got a little bit of a clarity to it. It's a nice orange copper.
Yeah, I think SRM. I've got the brew sheet in front of us here. Calculated out when we had made this up, it was 6.2.
Yeah, sounds about
so
right. We also use Maris Otter, which is a little darker than the Pilsner.
Yeah, this was this kind of changed. We were at the end of some of our malt before ordering new malt, and ended up kind of being a hodgepodge in that way a little bit, which is fine. For what happened with this beer, I'm very happy with it.
It definitely has head retention, but it doesn't stay.
It's not staying as this huge like pillow on top of it by any means.
Yeah, but it'll come right back if you give it a little bit of swirl.
Naturally carbonated, first time for us. Very happy with that result.
Mm-hmm.
Both from an appearance wise and, as we'll get to it, the dreaded definitely get that from it.
Giving it a sniffy poo. Smells like Saison. I don't know how else to put it. I don't really get anything other than what you would get from Saison yeast strain.
Yeah, like there's a cool spice from that. There's an earthiness to it.
Yeah.
Slight bit of sweetness, that bubblegum thing that you get from your Belgian strains. This is Omega Saisonstein Monster, which is a blend of the two. So kind of the best of both worlds.
They actually recently dropped the Monster.
Really? Just Saisonstein? I'm calling it the Monster forever. I think that's too good to not run with.
I would agree.
But it's a Saison. There's nothing overly different about that. Maybe you get a little bit more floral hits on this just because of the dandelion and the honeysuckle, but it's not anything that, as soon as you smell this beer, you're not, more than likely, I don't think you're immediately going to be like, oh, I know they put a bunch of flowers in that beer.
No.
You're not getting that out of it. You're still getting that dominant Saison thing, and that's fine. That's what we shot for. So that's happy with that.
Mm-hmm. Pretend we haven't tried it before. I mean, this is our second take, which is funny because it's probably at the beginning of the video.
There's extra stuff in here. It's just a fucking mess.
Yeah. Good.
So we wrote down a few notes kind of before we started the video. We've sat with this beer for a week now?
Yeah.
As far as actually having it and letting it settle out in the keg and having time. I told Jacob I think this is the best beer we've ever made, and I didn't know if anybody would like it just because it's nothing crazy. It's not some hyped up beer. It's just kind of the ethos of what we like to do at the end of the day. And the fact that people are gravitating towards it makes me really happy. And I think it stands up for itself. There's a ton of floral character, ton of unique floral character that you're getting from the dandelion and the honeysuckle when you taste it. There's a really cool sweetness to it that it's not sweet in the same way as like something that would be under attenuated, but there's that sweetness from like what we assume is the Brumalt.
Yeah.
Probably would use less of that next time, but it's a really cool little situation happening there.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, that I think Brumalt is crystal adjacent, and that those kind of malts normally give a little residual sweetness anyway. So I think that's maybe what's going on with it, because it's definitely finished out as far as that goes.
There's a cool little play between what's happening with the flowers for me and what's happening with the yeast strain and that brew malt. I think there's a neat little play because like this is normally something that would finish like super dry. We'd have a lot of that spice character. I think that always comes through pretty heavily in Saisonstein's Monster.
Yeah.
And this kind of balances that out a little bit. You know, typically I like a drier Saison, but I like where this is at.
Yeah.
It's not so dry that it's going to be this like really like almost like tongue rolling thing. Like
yeah.
it's in a good place as far as that goes, I think.
Yeah. Floral is kind of a hard flavor to pin down because it's kind of a fuzzy logic kind in thing.
It can be anything.
Yeah.
Like anything, I guess, can be floral in this sense.
It's more of a bright note than like an earthy note. Like there's earthiness there, but not a ton of it. There's also not really any hop character. I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean,
it's not bright in the same way though as like a citrus bright. Like it is its own thing.
Yeah.
It is somewhere like, you know, bright's here, earthy's here, like with your citrus hits. Like it is dead middle in that. It is towing a really fun line that only flowers like that seem to give you.
Yeah.
And even from the other examples that we've had from some of our friends that have done beers like this, they all kind of do that. Flowers do a really cool thing to beer that is super underutilized, man.
Yeah. I think there's a cool... I assume this is from the honeysuckle, because obviously those have a little bit of a honey flavor to them, but I get more like vanilla than honey.
See,
which those two kind of...
Right, and that's, I think, you know, one of the first things that I wrote down was how soft it was.
Yeah.
I think that's where that's coming from. I think, like, there's that vanilla adjacent thing that's happening that's mellowing out everything else to kind of blend together.
Yeah.
I think if we'd have just had this beer with the Dandelions, it would have still been good.
Yeah.
But I think the honeysuckles really brought it and rounded everything out together and kind of like brought the marriage, you know, and put it in a good place.
Yeah. I get it. That kind of ties into the...
Yeah.
Hate that word, y'all.
Let's just censor it.
Yeah.
And we'll censor...
I hope you know what we're saying.
Censor our... Do you want to censor like our lips so you can't read them, or no?
Maybe.
Then they just have to guess what it is.
Yeah.
If you guess the word that we're saying correctly,
$40.
we will send you a free sticker.
Oh.
I don't have them in front of me; they're over there. We will send you a free sticker. I promise. Jacob, put the sticker on the screen right here.
I'm gonna put it right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I would like $40
if you want to send Jacob $40. Shoot us a DM on Instagram at Hop Swords Brewing.
Or comment below.
Or comment below.
Credit card number.
And social. We need both for legal reasons.
Yeah. The feeling within the mouth. I'm going to censor that.
That's worse. I feel like that's so much fucking worse. Jesus Christ. That was terrible.
I'm sorry. I was trying to make it more palatable. It's like we were saying, it's not the driest thing in the world. It's pretty round and smooth. Not
overly carved either.
Yeah.
This isn't like you pouring this out of your draft system and it's, half of its head. That's not a bad thing. I fucking love that in a Saison when it works right. This wasn't the beer for that.
Yeah.
This is something that needed to be more rounded. There didn't need to be that effervescent, big, dried out monster.
Yeah.
This ended up in a good place as far as that goes for me. I think other Saisons that we've done in the past, we've went heavier on the carb and it's worked out well. This has done well with the kind of lower carb, the natural carbonation that we did with it.
Yeah. I'll throw up the water profile we used. I don't do a ton to our water, especially on this one. I don't think I did anything.
Well, I've got the sheet in front of us here, which you can put our water profile on the screen if you want to, but no gypsum. We didn't throw any gypsum in this time. No calcium chloride, just lactic acid.
Yeah.
And I think this is the most lactic we'd ever used in a beer.
Yeah.
This one and maybe the dark Saison had the most in it.
Yeah, maybe.
But 8 milliliters, that's it.
Yeah.
That is all the additions that went into this beer ahead of time. We're pretty lucky to have a good water profile here.
Mm-hmm.
This was a really important beer for us. One, because everything kind of came together in the way that we wanted it. Despite the fact that originally this was going to be a grisette, I fucked up the crush on the grain. I don't know what happened. I don't know if I hit the drill too hard, what the situation was, because we haven't changed our tolerances on our mill. But I crushed it way too fine. We had somewhat of a stuck mash. This beer ended up being way bigger.
He's been working out a lot lately, and I think that's why
I've been fucking killing the kettlebells, bro. But that's the only complaint. This was supposed to be a grisette. It ended up being true to style Saison as far as like ABV and that sort of thing. This ended up coming in at 5.78, which very happy with. This is a super drinkable beer, man.
Yeah.
This is a dangerous one.
It's probably closer to 6.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Very drinkable, and man, this overall impression, like the last thing that I wrote down on the tasting notes was just embodies spring. Like things coming into bloom, things coming back to life from the desolate winter, especially the last winter that we had given all the circumstances of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
This was a really cool kind of like welcome back into life and welcome back into brewing and kind of recapturing that love that we have had for this and the style that we both love more than any other style. And this was a really important one. It's hard to do tasting videos though, man, because like if you're so ingrained in the beer community, like one of two people are going to watch this. Our friends who support us, who either like beer or don't like beer, they just are the homies and want to support us. Shouts to you guys. Or people that are so ingrained in the beer community and the homebrew community that they either do it all the time or they're at least around it enough, like they're immersed in it, so they know what beer tastes like. So it's like, hey, it's Saison, like it has the Saison stuff.
Yeah.
Hybrid yeast. It's got the mix of the peppery stuff, and it's also got some of the bubblegum stuff. Not nearly as much of that, which is fine with me. I don't prefer that.
Yeah, I think we both lean toward the French.
Yeah.
Higher than the Belgian.
I
don't like them both, but you know.
Yeah, like there's a really cool earthiness, like a good spice to that beer, but the flowers do something to balance it out in such a cool way. Super happy with it. Super happy with, again, the whole process of that. First beer we naturally carved in a keg.
Yeah.
Also, which I think did something in a positive way.
I think so too. I think we'll do that again.
I don't know if there's a brewlosophy thing out there on that.
Well, yeah, no, he had one that, as with everything they do, there was no discernible difference. And I think he actually preferred the
his burst card method.
The burst card method, yeah. I don't know. I'd be interested to try something like this side by side.
I think so too, and maybe that's style to style.
Yeah.
That's going to make somewhat of a difference.
I could see that playing better for this kind of beer than burst carbon. And it's just, I mean, you get extra time on it.
Think about the difference if you were going to spun something versus not doing that. Like that definitely makes a difference. I think if you had something that you were doing that in a style that was appropriate side by side, that's going to be better.
Yeah.
I think you'd be able to pick that out. I might be dead wrong on that, but I feel pretty confident about it. I think you could put this side by side in this style, like what you're saying, with something that was burst carved. We'd be able to tell the difference. But again, maybe that's just like the bias of us brewing the beer and knowing what all the methods were on this is different than just a normal straight up CO2, like kegged up, carb heavy, like a quick beer. Here's a question. Would you change anything about this one next year. I mean, it's going to be a next year beer.
Yeah.
This will be a repeat.
I'd probably keep the Torrified Wheat. I like what that did. I'd probably half the Brumalt.
I would agree. I think even spelt, and this would be really good.
Yeah.
At this point, we would throw spelt in, I think, about anything.
True.
And this was the last thing brewed with our normal Great Western Pilsner, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course now everything's, our nice Riverbend stuff.
Yeah.
Shouts to our buds for getting us that. So I'd be curious to even try this beer with that and see how different it is. Because we've got some stuff in the fermenter that use that Chesapeake Pilsner from Riverbend. And man, there is such a cool floral thing to that. And I think it would really sing out in something like this that's already got those notes from the dandelions, from the honeysuckle. Mm-hmm. Really just be a pretty cool marriage, I think.
Yeah.
I like how we're talking like semi-serious about this, and
it's going to give everybody whiplash from the first 2 videos.
Yeah, which I think is good. I think there's an important quality to that.
Yeah.
Because we kind of do both.
Mm-hmm.
We care very much about all this stuff.
Yeah.
If you told us that we could be farmhouse brewers living in some other country for the rest of our lives and do nothing but this and didn't have to worry about money or selling anything, you just wake up every day and you tend to the land and make your beer and do your thing, I'd probably say, when the fuck can I sign up? Care that much about it. Care that much about the process, putting the right ingredients in things, really giving a shit about what you're doing. But also, it's fun to shotgun beers in the garage before you mash in and just have a jolly old time with all your friends. So there's a balance there.
Yeah.
And I think there's too much oversaturation of the dry bullshit and not enough of the fun stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So we gotta counterbalance it, guys. We have to.
Got to be a little dry.
Yeah.
Just like this Saison.
Yeah, little dry, nothing crazy.
I think I would have hit on encouraging anyone who's brewing, start foraging for shit.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Helps you get back to the land around you, and helps you to cultivate a real appreciation for it. I feel like.
And we got the book here from Scratch Brewing, like the Homebrewer's Almanac. Mm-hmm. That kind of like if you don't know about that book, it goes through like the seasons and kind of gives you a baseline for things that you can brew seasonally with like fruits, vegetables, various like plants out. That I assume most of them are available in most of the U.S., like outside of like some really crazy climates.
Yeah, I would say so.
But yeah, like what Jacob's saying, being able to connect to the land is so important, at least for us, which you guys, if you haven't already picked that up, like we're obviously in somewhat of the South, and agriculture is a huge part of everything here, as well as the forestry industry, and being able to use those things in a positive light and bring that to something that, especially in our little smaller area, for a long time, beer has not been looked at as this serious thing, or it's looked at as the guy that's going to whatever your local corner gas station is and getting a 40 and getting drunk for the day. It's not looked at as this art form, this serious thing that takes a lot of pride, a lot of passion, a lot of care for your craft, and even on like a homebrew scale, for us to be able to try to help that stigma out and use the land, talk to local farmers, be part of that process, I think is one of the most important things that we do. And we'll continue to do more, especially after this. Mm-hmm. This was our first real, like we foraged for ingredients before, especially honeysuckles, and like we've picked berries before to do things, but this is the first time that we've really used anything from like the ground, like dandelions.
Yeah.
Like first time we've picked stuff, processed that out like that, and really gotten down and dirty with our hands to do something like that. And the payoff's pretty fucking magical.
And it's not hard.
No.
It's
time consuming. Takes work.
Yeah. But Shit, we just tossed the dandelions in after we cut off the boil when we were brewing, and then the honeysuckle, just tossed them right in the fermenter. I mean, it
Yeah, nothing crazy. It's not like it was some wild process. Obviously, we made a tincture for the honeysuckles to sanitize them out. And in this case, we didn't want anything getting wild in the beer. Same way with the dandelions, we froze them ahead of time and made sure that like we killed off everything because we didn't want a mixed culture out of this. We love mixed cultures as much as anybody, but this was kind of our baseline to learn from, to grow from. Got a friend in the brunette group who recently to one of our meetings brought a dandelion farmhouse that he had made, and it had been aging for like 2 years, and it was a mixed culture that he had propagated from his own house, and immaculate beer. Shout out to Steven for that. But this was our kind of first take. We wanted a baseline. We wanted something simple, but something to just showcase, especially moving into a new house. We moved over to Bristol. Everything was foraged straight out of the yard. All the dandelions, all the honeysuckle, and to be able to do that on a new water profile, used everything at this house, it's been really cool.
I don't know if you guys heard the motorcycle outside. That's why I did this.
Hopefully not.
I wasn't like giving him an angelic moment, although,
Yeah.
sometimes you gotta do that.
We were like,
That's where the video ends.
like we were just doing some fucking heavy stuff there for a second. I think there's a lot of good things to say, not just even about this beer specifically, but just us being a little bit more, not candid's not really the right word, I guess, but just talking about beer. Mm-hmm. Like, hey guys, we actually do care about the beer. We're not just fucking maniacs all the time.
Yeah.
I know that it seems like that we're fucking maniacs all the time, but I promise you, we're not maniacs all the time. We really care about the beer, okay? It's part of it. You gotta do stupid stuff sometimes, okay? So just know that, or I'm gonna come fucking find you.